So the next question is question number 7. So during the implementation of a public facing website based on AEM as cloud service, the customer raises additional requirement to have a commenting functionality for end users implemented on the pages. Okay, the end users are looking for certain comment. At least they have to go to the website and enter some comments. That functionality they are requesting. Okay, as an architect, how do we design a future proof solution for this? Okay, first A is save comments in JCR and leverage Sling distribution to synchronize comments between publishers. Okay, keeping data in JCR, that's what one option. Second is integrate a third party solution to store comments externally. Okay, C is use MongoDB as provided with AEM as cloud service to store the comments. D, save the comments in JCR, leverage reverse replication to synchronize comments via author. Okay, so we know that user generated content we will not be storing in JCR. That much we are clear, because that is a huge data in short span of time. We try to not keep it in JCR as much as possible. That you all understand, right? Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that we will not store in JCR because that is short span of time. Huge content will be coming onto the JCR that will hit the performance. So we are clear that option D and A are striked out. Okay. B and C. In between B and C, integrate a third-party solution to store comments externally. So normally, user-generated content (UGC) we try to keep in blobs, Amazon S3 bucket or Azure cloud, and we will retrieve them. So probably he means third-party solution, meaning by that solutions. Another one is use MongoDB as AEM as cloud service to store the comments. Again, we will not try to store within the AEM, and MongoDB is actually as kind of TarMK and MongoMK. If authors have a lot of inputs, then we try to have MongoDB. Like suppose 10,000 authors concurrently accessing, then we will try to have MongoDB. This is actually user generated content. Okay. So, what do you guys suggest is the answer? Someone? Anyone? So, any of you have implemented user generated content in your projects, like end users entering the data, and that data we need to showcase when they refresh the page and all?
Yeah, we know. Like we are using third-party system only to storing the data and all that in our project.
Okay. Yeah. See, I mean, that is what we will be doing. So we have to use third-party systems because they are specifically for huge data in short span, and scalable solution of third party would be better to have data stored as user generated data? So answer is keep a third party solution to store the comments. Okay, answer B. See, they are saying it doesn't depend on AIM as cloud service limitations or changes. Try to keep it third party. Question number 8. A client designs a new experience for one of their brand sites with the following parameters. The new experience should behave like a desktop application. There is a lot of dynamic content in the app. SEO and initial page load are top concern for the client. The client's marketing team needs to be able to author the content with what you see is what you get editor. Which approach should the architect use to meet these requirements? Okay. So basically, one site which should have SEO should be top priority. A lot of dynamic content will be there, and it should look like a kind of desktop application. And they need to be able to author the content in whatever they author it, they can directly see it accordingly. What approach? Use AEM as headless CMS. Use the traditional server side components on the website. Use the SPA editor SDK with server side rendering. Create a set of API driven components. Okay. So just go through it and then think over it.
C for SP editor.
Okay. Any other opinion? Okay. So exactly, if SPA editor is there, we have seen yesterday how SPA editor would work as whatever we are trying to get is displayed, and server side rendering will help SEO. Okay, and with SDK you are getting server side rendering, so you are not loading on the initial page load itself. You are giving it to server. Okay, SPA editor will provide desktop kind of application. So AEM as headless CMS is exporting the data as JSON or something, but who would showcase it as a desktop app? How would they actually see the editor? They need to have editor, right? That's not there. Set of API driven components. I mean, how many you can create actually? It should be API driven components also. How do you get it as a desktop kind of application? Okay. So the answer is SP Editor SDK with server-side rendering, and they are actually very much good for creating dynamic web applications that behave like desktop applications. And yeah, there is a clear information is also there according to that in the E104 certification. Okay. Okay, so basically, I'll share this PDF once everything is done, so you can go through it again and also go through the links which are provided. That will help you to basically understand everything clearly. Okay, so for the question number 8, the answer is C. Okay.
Yeah, one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
In general, SPA, the initial page loading, it will take some time. After that one, if there won't be another loading of the page, you just have to click or go to the next in the same browser. It won't be no network call.
Right.
So how it will be addressing that issue?
Yeah. So this is an SDK. Okay, this is not hosting the application. In case of initial page load, the hosting is actually done by the React application itself, where the JSON which is coming is actually suppose if AIM SDK, we just get the abstracted layer of the components which are available as an application, but actual connections will be loading the data from the server side. So SPA itself is different. SPA with server side rendering is different. So there is a huge concepts in server side rendering I'll showcase that will help to have server side rendering improved. So SPA with server side rendering is a different concept. Okay, it is actually helps to have initial load also in control. Okay, so the purpose is SEO improvement, search engine optimization improvement. Okay, and also for improved performance, because server side will fetch the data in SPA. Normal SPA, it will be first load will be everything combined and will be coming in one go.
Yes.
But in case of SPA plus SSR, that actually requires a Node.js. It doesn't actually have that kind of initial one-time load. It will be server-side rendered for each of the experience, and then search engine optimization is also improved. This is a concept where there are a lot of frameworks are also built on SPA plus SSR. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm mentioning the link here so that how SPA plus SSR works. Okay. So the answer is SPA editor. Okay. Any other question anyone has? So the next question is, a client using AM 6.5 on-premise is experiencing an unsustainable repository growth of 100 GB a day. After investigation, architect finds out that the dam is causing this issue. Each image uploaded to dam triggers creation of approximately 100 renditions that is actually necessary by business to consume in different channels and systems. The client also complains about stale content reported by site visitors happening randomly in pages where article related components are present. There is a stale content also, which means invalidation is properly not happening. So it is showing old, even though the new content is updated or the images are created, they are not showing the latest ones. Okay. Uh, how should the architect address the system? Okay. First, leverage AEM adaptive image servlet, cache image variations in dispatcher, and re-implement article related component to use Ajax to load the content. Okay. So instead of DAM out of the box, create a servlet, use variations, and cache the variations in dispatcher and re-implement article related component. But here, his issue is repository is growing. Okay, okay, we'll say split WCM and DAM in separate instances, set up connected assets, and re-implement article related components to use Ajax to load the content. Okay, I mean keep the DAM outside. Okay, leverage AEM adaptive image cache image variations in dispatcher, and implement a cache TTL in dispatcher. Okay. See, the repository growth is cannot be stopped because we need to have all the uh, renditions needed by the business. That is actually part of the requirement. Okay. And last one is split WCM and DAM in separate instances, set up connected assets, and implement a workflow to purge all pages affected by an article change in dispatcher. That See, purging all pages affected by article change in dispatcher is removing the pages, but we are targeting here how to manage the renditions and then also make sure the repository growth will not affect the performance, and make sure whatever is out of the box is getting created. Can we do any other way of creating those renditions which are actually necessary by business, so that the size will not be that much, but still we can cache it and then get the data. Okay. So out of these, okay, AEM adaptive image servlet, you all know that it is a class which we can actually use for creating renditions, and as many variations which we want, we can create by using this servlet. And once we have renditions created, we can have those variations cached in dispatcher. And whatever is the article which is actually fetching the data, every time load it from the Ajax. Okay, instead of actually um, server side rendering article related components for anything which is related to DAM, if you load through Ajax, there will not be any stale content, right? Because we are always loading the assets from the browser directly calling the server, which is it is not rendered by the initial request. Okay, so this kind of helps to, stale content cannot come. That is one thing. And image servlet can create renditions, so there is a solution for creating renditions, and caching them will actually help to have all the variations cached. But if any invalidation needs, then we are having a separate request. Okay, that is also making sense. And splitting WCM and DAM in separate connectors and re-implement to use the Ajax loading content will help to have the cache. But DAM repository growth of 100 GB per day is not solved here, because keeping it separate also, it will have the same workflow which is creating the renditions from the existing, right? Okay. And leveraging adaptive image servlet cache image variations in dispatcher. Okay, and implement a cache TTL. Cache TTL is like time to live, where every few minutes that gets expired and the latest will be pulled from the instances. But whether they are actually when we are actually asking the image from the browser, is it actually the TTL validation is happening that time? We are not sure. TTL is a standard number, like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, like that. Automatically after the TTL, it will actually check for the latest and get it. But when we fetch from the front end directly, it will be always the latest through Ajax. Okay, so I see this Ajax load is better option, but having image servlet is the better option because DAM repository growth is also managed here. And fourth one is split WCM and DAM, setup connected, implement a workflow to purge all pages affected by article. That is fine, but DAM separate instance doesn't help to have 100 GB per day growth limitation solving. Right? It is not solving. The only way to solve it is having images separately created independent of the out of the box option, and then we can have multiple variations of the dispatcher, and to have the cache stale content also not served from that, we can actually use article related components to ajax load the content from asynchronous JavaScript. Directly we are calling at that time, not actually getting the static HTMLs. Okay, so as per the answers, it is most likely A. The reason is adaptive image server will help and all. And anyone has any questions on this, we can discuss.
Can you explain A again? I mean, how do we solve the repository growth problem using adaptive image servlet?
Okay, so
The servlet.
yeah, you know, right, adaptive image servlet purpose. So I'll showcase. It is basically creating renditions based on the pixel sizes. So whenever we want to create a custom servlet, custom rendition, we extend this image servlet, and then we will provide the custom this thing. Yeah. So this is adaptive image servlet. Okay, and it has all the methods to create custom renditions. Okay, it takes the request sees it takes the suffixes and prefixes, and we can actually get the pixel sizes which we wanted to use for creating the rendition. I'll show how rendition is created. Okay, so it's a big servlet. Huh. You see, mark original rendition used, and from the original rendition we can create multiple other renditions also. Okay, so basically this servlet we extend to create whatever the custom rendition which we wanted to create from the business or any other thing, rather than actually leaving it to out of the box. Out of the box, dam update asset workflow has its own process step to create renditions, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that is actually creating renditions which are making it like 100 GB repository growth is happening with that process. Is there any alternative solution we need to provide? Okay, so instead of that process step, if you use adaptive image servlet and mention the renditions which you need to create, it will create those renditions and store them at the path. And if you cache those renditions in dispatcher using the paths, and while loading the articles, load it directly from the browser using Ajax, meaning any data which you wanted to fetch from the for the images. Okay, you can call the image, fetch the image.
But here also we are creating rendition, right? So the size will be also same, 100 GB or 100 rendition. Using the adaptive image servlet, we are going to create the same 100 rendition.
Actually,
So
yeah,
what would be the
actually
difference?
the size is same, but the process, the JVM and all, which is actually you can see it in the processing. It is clearly mentioned. The streaming and processing is optimized. Okay, I'll show you. It reviews all the available renditions of the image and huh, it picks the servlet which is smallest files from the candidate list. So basically, it has inbuilt mechanism to identify the smallest file size and then accordingly create renditions from it from the list of the items. Okay. Is it making sense?
Can you just scroll up that rendition, how it is optimizing? Okay, thank
Okay. Any other question in here?
you. One thing, if the second number, it selects only those same name type, the original. If it is PNG, then it's going to get the PNG rendition.
It will
Same thing
consider the
also
PNG
happens.
yeah, PNG rendition, and if you want, we can change it in the servlet by extending it.
That was happening in the out of bus rendition. It don't create PNG to the JPG. It
Uh,
will also create PNG.
I didn't get you. Could you please repeat the question?
If that extension name type is PNG,
Uh,
then it will be creating PNG in the out of box rendition how we are using the demo upload asset. There we are adding a process.
yeah, out of the box,
It will
it will
create.
consider that MIME type for creating other renditions. Yes. And if we need anything else also as rendition, we can use that. Is it clear?
Yes.
So the answer is A, because image servlet has a feature automatically select most appropriate rendition of the image asset based on the size of the container in which it is displayed. So this can reduce the number of renditions needed and improve performance and scalability of AEM tab. Caching image variations in dispatcher also help reduce the repository growth and network traffic, and re-implementing article related implement can prevent stale content used dynamically loading the fresh content from AA without refreshing the whole page. Okay. The same thing which we have discussed, they are mentioned as explanation. Okay, let's move on to next question. Next question is: a client is in the discovery process for building a React native app, which is a single code base that runs natively on iOS and Android. The goal is to reduce the development cost. If the client wants to reduce content creation costs in the new React Native by reusing as much of the marketing content already published in their AEM instance, what should architect recommend to meet this requirement? Experience fragment, OAJ bundles, Sling resource resolution, content fragments. So React Native app will take the data as JSON, right? I mean, normally we export the data from AEM to other systems. Like yesterday we have discussed as using JSON. So which of the options will actually help to export the data as JSON for them? Okay, and it should have experience also, because content fragments sometimes will not have any of the data, right? It is an asset. So what do you guys think is the answer? So to export the data from AEM as an experience to other systems, we have out of the box option experience fragments, which are available, which can be provided to any of the other apps, and that can consume the data and prepare the experience. Okay, so from the options it is clear that experience fragments will help to do that implementation.
When you like here the experience is the concern, I think they are saying in the content only, right?
Content means content is experience only, right? I mean,
Content in the
suppose,
sense like.
yeah, we have I want content of my website available for a mobile app, uh, so that I can consume from the mobile app. What does that content mean by content of my website? Meaning the web HTML, right? Or the web whatever he is seeing on the website, he wants to see similar thing on the mobile, and whatever is actually hosting the mobile app has to get that data from that website to display on the mobile. Understood?
Got it. Okay. I thought like the content means only whatever, like instead of experience, right?
Yeah.
Whatever we have. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So they are reusable content that can be delivered to any channel, including React Native apps, and then they are already published. So that is the thing. Okay. The next question is: a large retail customer is building their e-commerce platform on AEM. Several third party vendors sell products through their site. Okay. Those vendors need to review and verify content close to production before the content goes live, and customer wants to provide them a restricted environment. Okay, a separate environment for them to actually check all the data which is available for them. Which approach the architect should recommend? Give third party vendors access to the author server. It's a blender. Use the preview capabilities of AEM author server. That makes little sense. Export content as PDF and share with the vendors. Not always a better option. Add a publish server and provide access. That is little costly, but that can also be done. Uh, these vendors need to review and verify the content close to. So I think B is enough. What do you guys think? But if they want to add anything or oh, they are saying preview capabilities of AEM author server only. So we should not give them AEM author server. Preview another server is there. Then that is what I think. I was thinking. Preview capabilities meaning you can give the URL of the preview directly to the vendors of your instance. I mean that is almost equals to giving third-party vendors access to author server only, right?
It should be D, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is D actually. Yeah. Yeah, answer is D. According to documentation, published server is a published instance that is used for previewing content before it goes live on production. This can be useful for verifying content with the third-party vendors for our stakeholder who need restricted access. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Okay. Let's go to the next question. During development, the AEM publisher server keeps crashing randomly. The deployment included a new static FAQ component that was used in website contact us page. An architect investigates to find the root cause for the random failures and notices the following parameters. The server slows down when requests are sent to contact us page. The number of requests to the page were very few. Heap dump shows a large number of instances of FAQ component. What is likely causing this issue? The page was not cached in dispatcher. The component triggers a traversal query. The JVM garbage collection is not running. The component has a cyclic dependency to itself. This we have covered. The component has a cyclic dependency. Then only the FAQ component is getting created again and again on the contactors page. And since it is creating a lot of components on single page, loading that page is taking a lot of time. And then it is actually crashing the publish server also. Is that clear? Anyone has questions? Everyone clear with this, right? This we have discussed
Yeah.
3-4 times also in the previous classes. The next question is customer wants to migrate their AEM environment from an on-premise infrastructure to a public cloud to improve performance. The customer currently hosts many assets, images, videos, documents in the app. Approximately 10 business users frequently upload new assets and update existing assets. Editors then use these assets on the sites. What should an architect do as part of this migration? AEM on-premise to cloud. Move to a shared data store and enable binary-less replication. Set up connected assets to share the DAM assets in the sites. Okay. And set up horizontally scalable AEM environment on MongoDB. Oh, that's a big thing. Run online revision cleanup before moving to the new storage format. I think set up connected assets to share DAM assets in the sites, making it like the 10 business users can actually access the DAM and connected assets will display on the cloud. But whether it is actually on public cloud, uh, can public cloud can display them as connected assets. I'm thinking so. Yeah. What is you guys uh, thought process so that we can actually check?
Public cloud here doesn't mean like AM cloud service, right? When you or like is it?
Yeah, that is what I'm thinking. If it is public cloud, he's clearly mentioning means it is not AEM as cloud service. So connected assets works for the AEM only, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I think it is for any other cloud platform like AWS or Azure.
Share data store.
So as part of migration, uh, so what they are saying is if we run online revision cleanup before moving to the new storage format, which is on the public cloud, it will effectively make sure the entire storage is like compact and move to the new storage format. Okay, rest all are actually not at all related. I mean, shared data store is on AEM only. You create shared data store, and connected assets also you do to AEM. And for migration into public cloud, you will not keep an horizontally scalable AEM environment on MongoDB, right? So, I mean, ABC are actually not related to the public cloud migration.
Then what is connected asset?
Okay, connected assets is actually in when 6.5 is released in 2017, I guess, or 16. They have released a feature called connected assets, wherein uh, you will have one AEM instance. The asset will not be on your AEM. The asset will be in a separate network folder or somewhere else, and you can actually configure a connected assets configuration on your AEM so that the asset will actually look like it can be loaded into AEM whenever it is needed, but it is the asset is not on the AEM.
Is it like that? Like that asset is on DAC and then
Sorry, which one?
we map.
Which one?
Like like I have heard about like DAC asset. So assets are uploaded to DAC.
No, I have not heard about it. So basically,
I think this is.
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So I was saying like it's like we are keeping two AM instances. One is for DAM and one is for sites, right?
Kind of, and it is like a separate one, which is actually for sites. It looks like it is hosted on sites. When loading, it loads from DAM.
Correct.
Okay. Any other question, anyone? Okay. So let's take a small break and we'll come back in 15 minutes and then we'll cover the other questions also. Okay. Thank you.
నేను చేసి చేస్తున్నా కరెంట్ బిల్ ఎక్కువ వచ్చింది దీనిలో కూడా నువ్వు ఎక్కువ ఏసీలో ఉండి ఎండబెట్టబడుతుంది
Welcome back, everyone. I just shared my screen. So, for the question 13, as we discussed, the answer is if you run a online revision cleanup, so that the data will be compact and we can move to the new storage format. Okay. And next question number 14. A customer has a requirement to allow authors to access AEM with single sign-on. To achieve this, an architect needs to integrate AEM with customer identity management system. Okay. Which two actions could an architect take to meet this requirement? Okay. First one, implement the generic SSO authentication handler interface. B, configure Sling authentication requirements for OSGI HTTP service. C, configure SAML authentication handler. D, configure the generic SSO authentication handler. Implement a custom JAS login module. Okay. I see that B and C make sense, but just let's discuss and then we'll go through that. For single,
SSO.
yeah, for single sign-on, yesterday. Sorry.
I'm saying for SSO like SAML is required, and maybe the B option what you're talking is could be one option.
Yeah.
A also can be a possible option, right?
Yeah, generic SSO also fine. That is fine. But what is the difference between A and D?
They're talking about configuring. Here they're talking about implementing the generic.
Yeah. So I mean, both are almost similar. So, but for SSO, yesterday we discussed SSO integration. Did we use SAML? We have to configure SSO authentication handler. Uh, just want to check. SAML is for direct access, I think.
Direct access, yeah.
No, I think for SSO, SAML is used.
Yeah, I'm on the.
I've done it for author, even for publisher, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm just checking on the SSO at configuring page, and they are saying we have to implement SSO authentication handler, which is available out of the box, and that is enough. And I don't see any SAML integration, but SAML we include client ID, client secret, everything, right?
I think in SAML configuration, we need to give a callback URL.
Login
Evidence,
redirect URL,
yeah.
home redirect
Yes,
URL, all of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we are actually trying to log in, it takes us to the username password page, or it automatically takes us to the login page.
So whatever you give as a callback means after successful login, where the user should land, it will come to that page.
Yeah. So for that SSO login,
task again, it will not send you back to the login page.
yeah, for the SSO login, it asks us the username and password.
Yes, if you're using same browser and you're logged in somewhere else, then it will take it from the browser. Else, it will ask you to give the user and password.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe I think this way I have not done. I've done it authentication using SAML. So that could be another way, I think.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there are like SAML, LDAP, everything, and then there is SSO also. And in SSO, they're saying out of the box, you can directly include the handler interface and use that for configuring. It will take to the SSO page directly. Okay. So yeah, it is bit confusing because SAML we were always thinking for SSO, but SAML is independent authentication protocol. I would say probably that authentication handler is not needed for SSO. SSO we have SSO authentication handler. That's what is clearly mentioned here. For configuring SSO, the SSO authentication handler service is what we implement, and that is what they're actually saying for a single sign-on. What we need to implement. So implement the generic SSO authentication handler, and then configure the generic SSO authentication handler. So we need to implement and configure it. That's what I think is the answers. Yeah. So that's what they have mentioned. A and D. Okay, for SSO integration, first we need to implement the authentication handler SSO. Okay. The next question is AM site users report the web content pages render very slowly. An architect noticed that the CPU usage of AM published instances are spiking and reviews the following entry in the log. Current cache hit ratio 47.94%. What should the architect do to increase the dispatcher cache ratio and prevent the AM publish? Prevent the AM publish CPU usage spikes. Okay. So, please. Just go through the question once and
Nandini. Goldie. Goldie. Nandini.
okay. So CPU usages of AM publisher showing current cache hit ratio is 47. Increase the dispatcher cache ratio. How do you increase? First one, review and optimize dispatcher cache configuration. B, add additional AM instances. That does not increase the cache ratio. Right? Cache ratio is per request per instance how much cache we are actually. So create a cron job that will delete the dispatcher cache on regular basis. Removing dispatcher cache on regular basis will actually make the cache ratio even lesser because the request will come to this thing again, the dispatcher, the publish instance, right? And third one, last one, add additional dispatcher servers. Adding additional dispatcher servers will not improve the cache hit ratio. To improve the cache hit ratio, we need to review and optimize the dispatcher cache configuration. Okay. So this one is actually clear, and we have to increase the review and optimize the dispatcher cache configuration. Okay, answer is A, and rest all are actually not at all actually in scope. So they are saying dispatcher is the caching and load balancing tool to improve the performance and security. We need to configure various properties in dispatcher.ini file. So that the creating a cron job within the regular is not required to reduce the cache hit ratio, increase the load on AEM server. So that's what we have discussed. That's what they're saying as well. Okay. The next question is AEM as cloud service introduces major changes in the architecture by using containers. Which key architectural change was necessary to allow this to occur? Using Adobe 10 for asset ingestion and processing, storing on a separate blob and providing AEM with metadata. Using Sling content distribution as a replication mechanism. Okay, that is true. Using MongoDB for other element, no. Isolating app and libs from content, configuration, and state management. D, right? Yeah, because that is the entire thing about mutable and immutable concept, and that is what is actually provided the architectural change for us to do deployments also in AEM as cloud service. This is clear, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So next question is: a company with various departments wants to use tagging to improve search capability. Each department is restricted to use its own tags. How should an architect organize the tags? Create a department subtag in each tag. Use department IDs as prefix of each tag. Create a namespace for each department. Create tags in department colon tag name. So when we have multiple tagging levels, how do we create subtags? Right? How do we create? While creating a tag, what it asks in the beginning itself.
Space.
Yeah, it asks for namespace. It asks for namespace for each department. We need to have a separate namespace, and then we can create tagging and subtags accordingly for each of them. Okay, this clear, everyone? Next question. A media company surveys the end users of their AEM site's website. The survey identifies that it is difficult to locate content on the site due to lack of relevancy and slow performance when navigating through larger volume of content. To address both issues, the business team suggests integrating an innovative taxonomy product to company's AEM implementation. The product is new on the market and development team has no experience with the technology. Which two steps should an architect recommend to evaluate this new feature? Develop integration as a proof of concept with sample content. Test usability of the feature with selected business users. Develop the integration and deploy it to 50% of the production AEM instances. Develop the integration as proof of concept with full production content. So, what do you suggest? Sample content proof of concept or full production content proof of concept? It is not on production, just on the production content, because we wanted to identify the locate content on the site. And there is one more option, test usability of the feature with selected end users. Because they are saying end user meaning the users who are using the website, test the feature with those end users, selected end users, how it is actually working. So one, we will do the proof of concept, then we will do the test usability testing. Which two ones we will do? Okay. With full production content we will do, or with the sample content we will do, because we are just trying to test a new product with the AEM implementation, whether it is working or not. Okay. Since we do not have much experience on the technology, we cannot actually directly do on the production content, because first we will do basic availability integration testing, then test it for an end user, then we can run it on the full production content, then we can actually move it to the production instances. Those are the regular steps which we think. So we have to do the proof of concept with sample content, and then we will test that taxonomy feature with selected end users. Any question, anyone? Okay, so answer is A and E, and then saying first we do with sample content for testing the feasibility and performance without affecting the production data. Then we can test, we select end users. Once it is fine, then we can do with production. Okay. Number 9, a retail customer with an international presence and both in-store and online sales needs a new assets platform. The customer decides to use AEM assets. The customer sites will continue to run on their proprietary CMS for websites. So they have their own CMS for websites that will run on their CMS, but for assets, they wanted to have AEM assets to be used. The customer wants to be able to scale a platform for spikes in user traffic, such as on local sales or online marketing campaigns. Under some circumstances, the customer also has higher load of editors for certain period of time. Which architecture should an architect use for business use? An AEM published instance on uh, an AEM published instance on Adobe managed services with auto scaling. An AEM has cloud service sites with dynamic media. An AEM asset setup on Adobe managed services with cloud manager. An AEM has cloud service asset setup using combined CDN for delivery. So which one we will use for only assets we want? So option B is out of scope, and they wanted to use it the latest sites, which is like C is on manager services with cloud manager, and D is cloud service assets, and cloud service assets is the latest one, right? And A is just normal AEM published instance. So out of the latest, all first one is the oldest published instance. Second one is the sites. We are not using sites because sites is already on proprietary CMS. C is AEM assets, but on managed services and cloud manager as a pipeline. When compared to C, D is the cloud service assets is the license which we take, and we use the CDN for delivery of the assets, so that the spikes and all in the user traffic in local sales can be managed by the CDN, because content delivery network will help to have caching options for the nearest local CDN supply. Okay, is it clear? So answer is D. We will have AM cloud service assets, which will be helpful for the AM assets option of the user, and then we can have CDN for delivery. Any questions, anyone?
Since they're talking about like normal asset, like B is not relevant because of on premises to like they wanted to extend that, so they don't want like rendering stuff or other options.
Could you please repeat it?
Or D option, I'm saying.
Which other option?
Like B option, I'm telling, it is not relevant because they're not basically concerned about
Sites.
basically readily options or different rendering options.
Yeah, sites, they have their own CMS for site and they want to continue.
Extend, right? I mean,
No, the customer sites will continue to run on their proprietary CMS. So then we will not talk about sites at all.
yeah.
Okay. Question number 20. A customer's photo gallery site uses query parameters to filter photo search results. The site experiences high AEM publish server load when user filters photo on the site. The customer would like to identify the cause. What should architect investigate first? Ignore URL parameter configuration in dispatcher. If we ignore URL parameter, the cached it will not come to AEM publish. It will be served from the cache itself. And B is dispatcher load balancing configuration. So if we have more dispatchers, requests will come to different other dispatchers. But he is saying high AEM publish. So even if you increase the dispatchers also, that doesn't actually solve why it is coming to publish server. And C, cache control headers in dispatcher.ini. Cache control headers are request headers, and they are not related to the query parameters. Request headers and request parameters are different. So he's talking about cache control headers and parameters. And volume of assets being loaded at a time. How much of volume assets he should be being. So site using query parameters to filter photo search results. Query parameters are coming, then the request will come to the publish always, because query parameters are always allowed. If he mentioned ignore URL params configuration in dispatcher.ini, it will actually not go to publish, it will serve from dispatch. So I strongly believe first we need to do A and then we have to check C, because cache control headers in dispatcher.ini file will actually check the request headers. Okay, and what are the cache control headers? See, cache control header dispatcher file. Okay. So this, if it is there, then we have to check, because there is certain one header in the request parameter request header. If it is mentioned to no cache, it always comes to the AM publish. Okay, we need to check two things. One, in the request header, no cache is not there for the request, because if it is no cache, then it is actually coming to publish by default and it will increase the load. Second, ignore URL parameters, because URL parameters will have to be used for filtering it. Okay, they have to be there, but that we have to do if we want to cache those images. By default, dispatcher will not cache query parameter data, so we need to mention ignore URL parameters also. But no cache, if it is there, that is the first priority. I understand, because no cache meaning no request at all will be cached, directly comes to the, even the request parameter, nothing, even get request also, it will not be cached if the request header is no cache. Okay, so cache header should not be no cache, and ignore your parameters configuration also we need to check. Okay, so yeah, I understand C and A both are answers, but when compared to both of them, no cache is the highest priority, because no cache, if it is there, it will always comes to publish, and then load on publish will be very high. Okay, you guys clear with this?
Yeah.
A customer has an international presence and strong brand image. Customer considers exceptional quality images used for both print on the and on the website to be essential for its business. The customer uses 6.5 managed services with a configuration of 2 dispatchers, 2 publishers, and 1 author. The original images can weigh up to 500 MB, with videos weighing even more. Renditions are generated after files are uploaded to AIM by the design team, so the authoring team can use them on the website. The teams reports issues with platform stability and slowness. Visitors report that images look pixelated on some screens and pages are very slow to load. Which two actions should the architect take to resolve these issues? Split AIM assets and sites in 2 different stacks and use connected assets. Okay. Customer uses 6.5 managed services with 2 dispatchers, 2 publishers, and 1 author. That and this are nowhere related. What he's trying to convey and what the option is. Okay. Add more dispatchers and publishers to AEM configuration. That would improve the platform stability and slowness. Okay, load balancing will be more, and image looks pixelated on some screens. So that option we have to check, and then train the design team to upload smaller assets and save the originals elsewhere. Doesn't make sense. Allocate more memory to Image Magic and FFmpeg. So what is FFmpeg and Image Magic? Okay, so sorry.
There should be one more option.
Yeah. Optimize renditions for the different viewports used by the visitors. Yeah, for different viewports, we need to optimize renditions that will actually reduce the pixelated, because when will the pixelated images comes? When we are trying to force another dimensions of image in another different dimensions. We try to do it, then it gets pixelated. Okay. So yeah, we need to optimize renditions for the different viewports. That is there. That answer is there. E should be there. Part of the 2 options. Allocate more memory to Image Magic and FFmpeg is mind traps actually. FFmpeg, maybe for JVM they wanted to say, but that doesn't actually improve the pixelated thing and all. Train the design team to upload smaller assets. That is not actually a solution. Add more dispatchers and publishers
to the AEM configuration. If we add more dispatchers and publishers, would that platform slowness and stability increases? Visitors report the emails when subsequent pages are very slow to when we connect already two dispatchers are there, already two publishers are there, and one author. Even adding more dispatchers and publishers, meaning I mean, if it is one dispatcher, one publisher, I can understand because stability will be improved if we have safe failback. I mean, anything is failed, stability will be increased. But there is already two dispatchers, two publishers available. And first one is split AEM assets and sites in two different stacks and use connected assets. If you use connected assets, if we separate them, basically sites and assets will have different instances. So their memory and everything is separated. And when the asset is needed, it will be loaded from the connected assets. Yeah, that can improve performance. I mean, there is it is not like outright rejection. We can have the performance improvement from split assets. So since B is not B, C, and D are actually not, B, C, D, and are not answers. So A and E is the answer. E is the straightforward answer because renditions for different reports will reduce the pixelated on screens. Okay. And splitting them and using connected assets will improve the performance. Reason being, it is actually having separate JVM, separate memory, and only content is loaded from one JVM. Another asset will be loaded from another JVM through a URL. So definitely that will actually help. So the answer is, since there are two options, answer is A and E.
అది అయిపోయింది వాళ్ళు ఎప్పుడు వెళ్ళలేదు కదా.
Yeah, we'll cover next question. Client wants to change how they publish their content, and the business requirement is as below. The client has a seasonal business that has a significant content changes across their site that need to be rolled out at once based on season changeover date. So this we have covered. I mean, when there is a season changeover date, it should be sent as a data. Okay, and the content authors need to be able to work one season in advance to publish dates to ensure that all changes can be completed on time. So they basically have to schedule the content on a season changeover date, and they will be already working for next season, this season also itself. Okay, the content authors need a way to indicate that all seasonal changes are ready. If the content changes are not complete, then the page should not get published. If the changes are ready only, it should be published. And by default, if you are automatically put as a publish, if the changes are not ready, it will not have proper content. The content authors need the ability to modify current live pages without rolling back changes for a future content rollout. Okay, so any changes in the live pages, they should not actually have to use it for the future rollout. Now only they will be able to change them. Okay, what approach should architect recommend? Use the versioning feature when editing a page to toggle and publish changes when ready. Publish changes when ready is manual process, right? Because we are not scheduling them, and at a season changeover date, it will not be moved. Versioning will actually create multiple versions. Like for entire season content, we can create as multiple versions. Use manage publication with scheduling values set to season changeover date when changes are completed. So this makes sense because when scheduling value set to the season changeover date, when the season changeover date occurs, the scheduling will make it, it will be published. And how we are actually publishing using managed publication. B is makes sense. Create a project inside of AEM for each new season and create task for notifying the changes. This is not at all AEM related concept. I mean, why do we create new project itself in AEM for season content? No, right? Use launches instead of AEM for each new season, and use the production ready flag to show changes are completed. So production ready flag is, again, they are saying when the changes are completed. So when changes are completed here they are saying when there is a flag which says, okay, there is a production ready flag, and once it is set to true means, okay, now we can do to and push. And when you can push only on the season changeover, and that how you can do using a launch. So this also can be an answer. So we can either use a launch which will send the changes when the season changeover date happens. And how do you know when the content is production ready? There is a flag which is set to true. Okay, so when the flag is set to true, season changeover date has come, the launch will actually move the content to the production, right? So out of B and D, one could be answer. The clear cut this thing, production ready flag setting to true is has to be needed, because clearly it is mentioned the content others need a way to indicate all the season changes are ready. They need to know it. Okay, so to know it, they need to have something to tell them production ready flag is there or not. I think D is even more better answer. So yeah, I think even D is saying using, they're saying that the see production ready flag indicates when the changes are completed. Okay. And the launches will actually have the corresponding season launch. Each season have their launch, that the season date the launch will be started, and then production ready flag will tell whether to complete the move or not. Okay, out of B and D, D has more features for authors to actually know whether the content is production ready or whether they can schedule the content or not. Clear? Any questions, anyone? Any questions, anyone? Yeah, we'll go to the next question. So question 3 is, this is site editors came to AEM author, AEM publish, dispatcher, load balancer, and browser. Okay. And then product editors, product identity management system, and API management system. A customer with an existing AEM implementation wants to enrich product pages with technical data coming from their PIM system. The PIM system sits behind API management solution that publicly exposes PIM API's RESTful web services with basic authentication as the security mechanism. Data consistency with PIM and secure access to the APIs are key elements of the integration. So latest data integrity of the PIM data should be displayed on the pages, and security of the AEM are important. Security mechanism for the integration. Basic auth is what they are using. How should the architect set up the integration between AEM and the PIM? Integrate AEM publishers directly with the API management system. That doesn't make sense. Use a client-side integration with Ajax from the browser to the
API manager. That makes sense because you can actually get the PIM data to the browser using React or anything. You can display. I mean, but are they using any single page application or not? That is not clear. That is okay. Okay. Import the technical data into AEM author and replicate to publishers. It is actually server side heavy, but this is a solution. Olden days we used to use this, but now most of them we are actually directly accessing from the front end. Convert the technical data into content fragments and expose using content service. But who is hosting the website? That is not mentioned. So yeah, I think integrate the AIM publishers directly with API management solution. I don't think that is a proper answer because um, client side integration has to be there on the browser API management. Okay. And directly with the AEM publishers, they haven't mentioned any specific details related to, I would say, integration of the security or anything. Okay. Let's see the explanation. According to Adobe Experience Manager documentation, a direct integration between AEM and PIM can enable marketers, creative professionals to manage e-commerce related product data and photography within a direct integration can also ensure data consistency with PIM and secure access to API using basic authentication. Directly with the API management system. They're just reading out what is there. See, AEM publishers direct integration with API management also meaning what? Are they actually writing some backend code which is calling the API management and then displaying from the server side to the browser, or from the publishers client libraries they are calling the API of the PIM to display the data consistently? See, we have to display the data directly from the PIM only because that is the consistent data. Okay. And how do we display the data directly from one? We can use client-side integration with Ajax from the browser to the API management. Another one is from publishers. Okay. One is browser making the call and getting the API data, and then AEM using that. Another one is AEM publisher. There is a client library which is actually doing it. I think it should be more elaborative in terms of answer. Reason being, integrate AIM publisher directly, meaning that is also directly getting the data from API, but AIM publisher here, AIM publisher client library, which is the browser data, which is not the browser, which is the client library JavaScript, which is calling Ajax to the API management. So that is also an Ajax. But from the browser or from AIM, we will be doing from AIM. Okay. So little not clear. I would say we'll go with API integration directly only. Okay. But from the browser, from AIM publisher, it should be client library of the AIM publisher, not the server side of AIM publisher. Is this clear? Server side, you're right. You load the PIM data through OSG service, and then you can push to the Sling model and then push to the front end component. On the client library, you can directly use on the component sitely. You can load the JS. JS will call the API and get the data and manipulate the DOM of the page, component HTML. This is clear, right? Anyone wants to discuss anything? Okay. So yeah, we will take a break for 15 minutes, and then we'll come back, and then we'll cover next set of questions. Okay. Is this fine, everyone?
Yeah.
Thank you.
ఇది ఏడు బెడ్రూమ్ తీసుకోవాలని చూసొచ్చింది. నొప్పి వచ్చిందంట వచ్చావు. బేబీ ఫింగర్ అయితే బేబీ ఫింగర్. నేను తిక్కలని సోఫా కిందకి తిప్పి సోఫా కింద కూడా క్లీన్ చేయించాల్సింది కదా. సోఫా కింద తిప్పి సోఫా లోపల కూడా క్లీన్ చేశారు. నీలాంటి కాదు, నేను ఎన్ని తప్పులు చేయొచ్చు.
ఓకే. పేరు చెప్తాను. నెక్స్ట్. అవునవును. ఆ, ఆ, అవును. ఎవరైతే యాక్సెస్ చేయాలనుకుంటారో వాళ్ళకి మనం ప్రొవైడ్ చేయాలి. వాళ్ళు రిక్వెస్ట్ పంపించేటప్పుడు రిక్వెస్ట్ కి హెడర్ లో యాడ్ చేస్తారు అథెంటికేషన్. రిక్వెస్ట్ ఎవరు మండే నైట్ వస్తున్నారు?
Welcome back, everyone. So we'll go through the next question. Okay, the next question is: a client is migrating the content from a legacy website to an existing AEM implementation. Architect evaluates the
We
content
can't
of.
see your screen, man.
Oh yeah, sorry for that. Dumb me. You guys can see me now, right? I mean, my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, a client is migrating the content from a legacy website to an existing AEM implementation. An architect evaluates the content of the legacy site and determines that there are approximately 20,000 pages with a common structure, a few hundred pages that do not follow a pattern. I think this question we have got previously. The client wants to complete the migration as soon as possible. Which approach would the architect recommend for that content migration? Okay, 20,000 pages are common, same structure. I mean, common in the sense not same pages. The structure is same, but I mean, hierarchy is same. And few hundred pages are doesn't actually have any pattern. Like the depths and paths are very different. Okay. So first one, migrate all common pages using ETL procedure with multiple rounds. B, migrate all common pages with ETL procedure and use manual authoring for the rest of. Use site importer to import the content into AEM. That doesn't help. Recreate the entire content manually with a group of authors. Last time that guy said us recreate the entire content manually with a group of content authors because we cannot actually migrate the 100 pages again, and that will be difficult. And yeah, what is your that time we had a lot of contention that how do we create 20,000 pages recreated with authors? What do you guys think um, is another look at this question?
Maybe using the ETL approach.
Yeah, ETL and rest of the 100 we can do manual authoring. I mean, we have 100 pages which doesn't follow any pattern, right? We need to author them, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think this one is actually having more sense making answers actually compared to the previous one. So Yeah, I would also go ahead with the B option, because D is almost like, creating a blunt approach. It will work, but it's a huge effort and blunt approach. So we'll go ahead with B. Okay. And question number 25. A website built on AM sites displays the company's stock price in the footer of all pages. The stock data is retrieved from a third-party REST service using two-way SSL and rendered in an AEM component using HTL. During the performance testing in last development sprint, it becomes apparent that the third-party service sometimes takes up 30 seconds to respond, which degrades the overall site performance. This question also we have got two-way SSL. We would thought of getting it directly from the client side. We'll see the options. How should an architect address? Call the REST service directly from the browser. Temporarily remove the component from all the content. Load the stock data component asynchronously. Add a 5-second timeout to the REST call. Okay. So 5-second timeout to the REST call sometimes takes up to 30 seconds to respond. It will cut down at 5 seconds itself, whether the service has come or not. If there is no set timeout, it will wait till 30 seconds and that will reduce the performance. But if you keep a 5-second timeout, it just waits for 5 seconds and then displays either old one or some not applicable something, but again retry after 5 seconds. Okay. So stock price, the stock data returns normal REST service. Okay, two-way SSL, right? So two-way SSL can we directly call from the browser? We cannot, right? And also temporarily removing the component from all the content will just not show the stock data. And adding a 5-second timeout to the REST call, yeah, it will wait for it. But if we actually load the data component asynchronously, meaning independent of server component call, it will call from the JavaScript browser asynchronously with whatever the corresponding time which we mentioned from the browser, independent of AEM. Okay, that component just directly loads and then displays a client library, this thing, and on the client library it will, that the JavaScript will call the stock API independently as an asynchronous call and fetch the stock data component. Okay, that is actually what we do normally to fetch it independently of the server side call for the stock data. Okay, so do you guys have any questions on this? So loading the data asynchronously is the better option. So that's what loading the stock data asynchronous can improve the site performance by not blocking the page rendering while waiting for the REST service response. This is clear, right? The synchronous call of the page load will not wait for the stock data response. It will load independently of the call to the stock API, and the call to the stock API happens from the client library as an asynchronous call. It's clear? Okay, next question. Company is implementing a new e-commerce site that is expected to get seasonal and flash sale induced traffic peaks from all over the world. It is projected that a minute of downtime could cause excessive lost revenue. The company management wants to keep resource utilization to optimal levels without experiencing degradation to avoid introducing bugs in the system. The architect needs to choose between AIM 6.5 and AIM as cloud service. What are the most critical non-functional requirements the architect must consider?
scalability, availability, reliability, maintainability. So traffic peaks has to be scalable, right? All over the world, and also a minute of downtime. So they are not supposed to accept. So availability, it should be almost has to be there. So what do you think, guys? Should be the two options which needs to be important for that. Someone? Yeah, availability has to be there. Another one.
Availability only when
Yeah, so let's check the answers. Yeah, as expected, scalability and availability has to be there. Okay, because peaks, traffic peaks, it can be managed if it is scalable, and no downtime, it can be available all the time. So these two things has to be considered to select AEM as cloud service. Okay. Next question. Site editors came to AEM author and went to AEM publish, and Adobe IMS is identity management system. It is using SAML 2.0 and then identity provider. Okay, these are site editors. Okay, browser request comes to the dispatcher. Dispatcher takes it from the publish. AEM author will also push to the publish, and AEM author gets the identification from identity management system. A customer has SSO on its AEM author environment using Adobe IMS, which is integrated with the customer's IDP using SAML. Okay, the customer plans to roll out a new secured website on AEM where SSO authentication is required for end users. End users also SSO authentication. End users meaning the people who are accessing the site on the publish. The end user accounts are also managed in the customer's existing IDP. So authors are also managed in the IDP. End users are also managed in the IDP. How should the architect set up the authentication for the website? Integrate AEM publisher using SAML with Adobe IMS. Publisher also, we can do the same thing like the author. Set up CUG and use user synchronization from author to publisher. CUG, if we set up, end users can actually have this thing, and user synchronization will make sure this we have covered yesterday, right? I think this is actually the best solution where end users can actually access a particular content, and the user synchronization makes the users available. Okay, integrate AEM publisher using SAML directly with the IDP, and that doesn't make any sense. Integrate AEM publisher with OAuth with Adobe IMS. So for me, I think CUG and user synchronization from author to publisher makes sense because AEM publisher with SAML directly with IDP is the same thing, which AEM publisher with SAML with Adobe IMS. Whatever is being done here, he wants to put here, but closed user group is actually kind of assets we can use, but let's see the explanation. SAML is a common and standard SSO handler that allows the user to access multiple systems after providing authentication credentials once. AEM ships with SAML 2.0 authentication handler that supports signing and encryption of messages, automatic creation of users, and syncing groups to existing ones in AEM 3. By integrating AEM publisher using SAML directly with IDP, the architect can leverage existing user accounts and authentication mechanism for the end users of the secured website. And CUG and user synchronization, what we have checked yesterday, how is that less of a solution?
CUG is for only specific pages, but this question is for all the pages, I guess.
All the pages. That's true. Because CUG, we have to update in each page permissions group, corresponding group has to be added. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So yeah, there is a clear answer which is mentioning that um, AEM publisher do not have user sync process which will sync the users which are actually accessed from end user. So from identity provided to publish instance, we cannot directly sync the users. Okay. So what we have seen yesterday, the syncing mechanism is CUG users once created will sync to the author instance probably, or I mean to say author and author IDP provider. But for published security reasons, it is not there. We were not aware of this thing. This is a new learning. So just remember, for published for security reasons, we do not have user sync mechanism from IDP to the publish directly. Only from author it has to go through. And here, if we are actually trying to access from publisher from browser, we cannot directly do user sync from from author to publish. It is not doesn't make um, sync. So AEM publisher using SAML directly with the identity provider is the solution. Okay, I was assuming that like the author publisher also will have, but publisher does not have any user sync directly from the IDP, so you cannot do creating CUG. But even another point is CUG is on the pages as a groups, not for every user like what you have for Adobe. So I think yeah, C is the correct answer. Anyone would like to discuss anything on this? It is clear.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to the next question. A large digital agency has 10 TB of assets in their DAM where renditions for each asset must be created without affecting performance for authors. Which capability should be the architect recommend to meet the requirements? So it has 10 dp of assets and rendition for each asset must be created and it should not affect the performance when authors are trying to access it. Okay. A. Reduce the number of AEM asset versions. Create AEM multi-threaded workflow. Use AEM asset offloading. Update dispatcher configuration to cache asset data. So, what you guys can see that to have 10 TB of assets, still asset renditions must be created without having any performance hit. Reducing the asset versions, it actually a business decision. So whether based on the um, kind of requirement, whether they are accepting the asset in renditions or not, that is actually business decisions. We cannot directly say. We need to ask the business and confirm based on the requirement. Okay. And create a multi-threaded workflow. Multi-threaded workflow, AEM meaning what? I mean, I haven't heard about multi-threaded workflow. So in DAM, whenever we upload asset, update DAM asset workflow will be triggered. And update DAM asset workflow, if you wanted to run it in multiple threads, even then we are not changing any of AEM, JVM or memory, right? So that doesn't actually have any impact. And D, update dispatcher configuration to cache assets. That is nowhere related to this dispatcher and then the AEM DAM renditions. And what is AEM asset offloading? Asset offloading, maybe I think keeping the asset somewhere and then while others tries to access it, load it during the accessing of the page itself, probably. So ABD or outright cannot actually make sense also. So C might be the answer, and we will see what is asset offloading. C is the answer. AEM asset offloading allows for delegating asset processing tasks such as rendition generation to a separate AEM instance or service. Okay. So rendition creations also can be delegated to a separate AEM instance, and that is a concept in AEM which is called asset offloading. Let's see, is there any document for that? Sorry.
I know. I just pinged one. Can you just say this one? It's saying that it's deprecated asset offloading. Not sure.
Oh, I'm just checking. Implement to reduce the burden on the server assess processing. Could see the duplicate zone is the name. Oh, okay. You might want to reach your data. Yeah, I mean they're saying it is deprecated, but let me check what is actually asset offloading. Okay, yeah, this is actually deprecated, and they have already mentioned. So this question, I think, is a older 6.4 times question. So yeah, if it is available, that is the answer. If it is deprecated, then they might give a different question and answer. Okay. Yeah. So basically, asset offloading is some of the processes for creating renditions and everything. We can move to publish instance, and that publish instance would actually basically identify offload the jobs and then make sure it works further. Any other questions, anyone? Let's go to the next question. A user is part of the employee's LDAP group synchronized with AEM. The same user is added to the authors group in AEM. The user is then removed from the employees group on the LDAP server. What is the result during the next synchronization with AEM? So this question we have got. So both ways, the ultimate security we need to maintain. So if it is removed in the LDAP, we'll remove in AEM also. That's what we have discussed. Let's see the answer. What is the result during the next synchronization with AEM? The user is removed from both the employees and the AEM authors group. The user is removed from the authors group but not the employees group in AEM. The user is removed from the employees group but not the authors group. The user is not removed from either employee or authors group. So answer is A. It is removed from both employees and authors. Because the ultimate security is if one system is not having any user, and we will better try to remove them on the other system also. If it is needed, they'll create a new one. Is this clear? Okay, we'll go to the next question. An architect needs to design an deployment process without downtime for end users. The system architecture contains AEM author, two publishers, two dispatchers, and a centrally managed load balancer. The publishers serve some content that cannot be cached. Which two actions should the architect take to meet these requirements? Cannot connect each published dispatcher to one AEM publish. Use each published dispatcher to load balance to both AEM publishers.
Deploy software packages by replicating them from author to publishers. Configure the centrally managed road bands to connect directly to the AIM publisher that is not being dedicated to. Deploy software packages to AIM publishers one by one. So there is a deployment process which should not have any downtime. And it has one author, two publishers, two dispatchers, and one load balancer. Okay, sometimes the publisher's data will be directly available without actually dispatcher cache directly from the publish services. If we connect each publisher to one AM, each publish dispatcher to one AM publish, uh, how does that deployment process will affect? So if we have one published to one, so suppose while deploying, what we'll do, we'll make one publisher down. Okay, if we keep each published dispatcher to load balance both the publishers, if the second dispatcher, any one dispatcher will take to the non-working publisher, it will be a down for them, right? Suppose a request came, and in the one dispatcher we have configured two publishers as renderers, and one of the publisher is down because we are doing a deployment. And since it is down, if the request goes to that, even though the dispatcher is configured for two publishers, by chance if the request goes to the down one, it will be showing 500 error, this downtime. If we have one-to-one mapping between dispatcher and publisher, if we are actually deploying to a publisher, we will keep that dispatcher, that publisher away. So the other dispatcher and publisher will be still serving the flow. And once the first one deployment is completed, we will make it back up. And the second one, we will take off the track and then we will do that. Then it will be having no downtime, basically. Okay. So I think A will be better answer. We'll check. So they're saying B and E. Use each publisher to load balancing both AM publishers. Can provide high availability and fault deploying software can avoid. So I don't think this is a good answer. Reason being, suppose if each publisher we have two renderers, a request came to one of the publisher, and since there are two renderers, it can go to any of the renderer, right? And if it goes to any of the renderer, that renderer is used for deployment. It will go server downtime response will come or not. What do you guys think of it?
Yes, so that is why A is not correct option, right? Connect each published dispatcher to one AM publish. So one-to-one mapping.
Yeah, one
If
to one.
dispatcher receives a request, it will try to get the data from publish one, and one is down for the deployment. So
I'll show the diagram. Let's take images. Do we have images? Shapes. So this is dispatcher one, and this is publisher one and publisher two. This is dispatcher two. Here, it is actually connected to both of them. This and this. Here it is connected to both of them. This and this. Okay. Suppose we are doing deployment for publisher. Okay. We want to put this off. Okay. And while putting this off, if request comes to this, okay, it will actually check what does renderer mean. It can go to any of the publishers. By default, if it goes to the publisher which is down, it will actually kind of give a response server kind of not available, right? But
if we actually have one-to-one mapping, I'll show you. But how the dispatcher is removed, that also we'll check. Suppose we have, hmm, I want to remove. How do I go back? Okay, so let's take one dispatch. Oh, sorry. Let's take one, dispatcher two, and publisher one, publisher two, and if you actually have this to this and this to this, if this is down, okay, we are deploying. If we keep this off, the request will always be served by this only, right? This path. And once deployment for this is done and this is up, these are available, then we can take this off, and certainly all the requests will go to the available publisher. And once this deployment is completed, then both of them are up. Any of them can take the request. That this is what my understanding when I say one-to-one mapping. Am I making any sense?
So when you when in this case, I think we even have to make dispatcher down, right? If publish one is having this element, dispatcher down also is needed, right?
Right. Yes. Yes.
That is why this, if dispatcher is not down, only publish one is down, then the request can come to dispatcher one, which will eventually give like
Error.
publish one is down.
Yeah.
And that is not mentioned in
Yeah, that is not mentioned, but so deployment process will affect only publishers. That much is sure. So dispatchers, they are not making it down, meaning dispatchers will be running.
Right.
And when a request comes, if one of the publisher is down, the renderers will actually auto redirect to the other publisher in the renderer section or not. Are we sure about that? There is actually renderer algorithm is there, which takes care of. We can define how many requests can go to which renderer or which publish instance. Okay, so as part of that, if any one of them is down, then yeah, having multiple publishers, multiple in one dispatcher will help. So yeah, I mean, one-to-one mapping, if dispatcher downtime is not clearly managed, then having dispatcher load balance both publishers will help definitely. But if we have dispatcher downtime taken care by normally as part of deployment, we don't take dispatchers. How do you guys do in your projects? So do you guys stop the dispatcher also, or stop only the AEM publish instances?
No, I don't think dispatcher we stop ever. No, we don't stop dispatcher. As per my understanding.
So dispatcher is always available. So when one is down, so the other one has to be available, and the other one, if we have one-to-one mapping, the other one is not at all available for the dispatcher. It will always give error, right? Yeah, that is, yeah, probably what you're saying is correct. If the dispatcher, we are not at all touching as part of deployment processes, dispatcher having all the publishers available to redirect if one of the publisher is down will actually make it more available without having any downtime for end user. Okay. And they have said one more option, and software packages has to be done one by one. That is true. I mean, packages we will be building one after another. That is also Understood. Yeah. Any questions, anyone? I think we should go ahead with B and E options only for this. Any questions, guys? Anyone? Yeah, I think whenever we are answering, we should actually think of not theoretically. I mean, what we are doing in the projects, what is what we need to think of, and then do it. Okay, so that's all we can cover for today, and for tomorrow's class, we'll cover the next questions. Okay. Anyone
How
want
many questions are there?
50 questions? 50 questions.
So we'll,
29 is pass.
so this is the one practice paper we are doing, or we'll have one more.
It is the one we have done one more previously, right?
Okay.
Any questions, anyone?
So you'll be sharing some other questions as well, right? Other
Yes.
than this one.
Yeah.
If you have any other set.
Yes, I have. Yes, I'll share.
Okay. Thanks.
When we are not getting any of the documents, we are getting the recordings are on RPS site, RPS Consulting login ID.
Okay.
But we don't see any of the documents, like in first or second session you have used a presentation.
Yeah.
That is not available. The practice papers which we did is also not available in the documents.
I don't know. I have shared with them already. I'll talk to them one more time and then I'll share all those documents again if they have missed it. But I do have shared with them. Just remind Swati. I think Swati from Sapient is taking care of this coordination. So she'll talk to the DP RPS team, and the RPS team can reach out to me. And meanwhile, I'll also share it proactively to them. So if they get it, the request, as soon as they'll share it. I am not having access to any of the folders, otherwise I would directly upload.
Okay, yeah, I'll ask Swati. No, they are just attaching the recordings, no documents attached.
Oh.
Yeah. Right now also I'm checking. Nothing attached as a resources, only modules are.
Yeah, I'll inform them. I'll inform them to share. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.